Isn't that fascinating? We are living through times where a top crypto asset worth billions of dollars can crash 90% overnight. And then we've got other days like today, where we've got several cryptocurrencies that more than double. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, this is what happened recently. The Mantra token crashed massively and nobody has an explanation for it. There was an interview by CoffeeZilla with the CEO of Mantra, and he's saying the team hasn't sold anything, market makers haven't sold anything. But interestingly enough, there were indeed some OTC deals. And then the question is, was there potentially some selling over the counter? But yeah, during times like this, most altcoins tend to underperform. This is others' dominance. This is the cryptocurrency market cap of the altcoins that are not in the top 10. And this over here, this was the Mantra crash. But at the same time, we've got massive rallies of various other cryptocurrencies. We've got Status, we've got Ardor, we've got Gas. And again, what's causing rallies like this? There is an interesting common denominator across all of those tokens. So Mantra and the other three ones that are pumping today. And that is, how are they actually traded? Because Ardor, for example, is only traded on centralized exchanges. The same is true for Status. The same is true for Gas. And have a look at this. They also all have perpetual futures. Now, what does that mean? Perpetual futures are bets on the price. So we are not buying the token directly on the spot market. We are just betting on the price, and the counterparty usually is the market maker or the centralized exchange. Now, if token ownership and token trading volume is centralized in a few places, then those centralized exchanges can manipulate the price, right? Imagine you offer a bet on the price, but at the same time, you've got impact on that price. It's like you're offering a sports bet, but then at the same time, you have bribed the referee. That's pretty much what's going on with a lot of altcoins right now. The reason why altcoins like this rally to that degree is to generate some attention. It's to generate volatility and then attract maybe some short selling. And if enough people do indeed short sell, then the price rallies even further. Then the token gets short squeezed. So none of this price action is actually natural. None of that price action is news driven. It's all price manipulation driven by the whales in order to extract as much money as possible from the retail investor. And there is a certain pattern to it. Have a look at the top performing cryptocurrencies in the last month. It tended to be the assets that were between place 100 and 200 in terms of market cap. Now this is a sweet spot because at that point an asset is likely listed on a centralized exchange, but it's not yet that large that manipulating becomes prohibitively expensive. Have a look at the performance in the last year. Again, it's the tokens between 100 and 200 in terms of their size that outperformed everything else. If the token is too small, then it probably doesn't have a centralized exchange listing. At least it doesn't have perpetual futures. If the token is too large, then manipulation can become very expensive, especially as the price goes up, and further manipulating it to the upside is a bet of tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. If it is not your first time you're watching this channel, then you know my stance on this market. We are currently below the 120-day simple moving average, so the moving average that worked the best for Bitcoin. At the same time, we also are in a downwards trend. And I would not be surprised whatsoever if we suddenly were to see a crash of 10, maybe 15% in Bitcoin. We could very quickly be again at $70,000 per BTC. Medium term, we could even fall further, right? The average cost basis of the market, which is the realized price, that's currently at $44,000. And at the end of every bear market, we tended to fall below that realized price. Currently, we are almost 2x above that. And so I'm currently betting on falling prices. And instead of betting on falling prices of Bitcoin, isn't it better to bet on falling prices of altcoins that are specifically weak? For example, when we've got something like Dogecoin, right, which is a very large cryptocurrency that's not that easy to manipulate, then when we see a rally at one point, maybe news driven, maybe Elon Musk is doing something with Doge, then a lot of people jump onto the asset. But there is a limit to how high the token can go. And so especially when we hit those prior highs, entering a short position in such a large cap makes sense. Again, because the market makers can't risk billions of dollars to squeeze the few short people over here. Something similar is true for XRP, right? So this is the XRP dominance. We might potentially be at a good short right now because in the past XRP crashed with the SEC lawsuit, but I'm personally standing on the sidelines. I'm waiting for XRP to outperform the rest of the crypto market by another 200% or so. If that happens, then we've got a very nice clean short opportunity again. So this is how I fundamentally think about this, right? If I think that the macro picture is bearish, I want to enter short positions. I'm looking for price pumps and I short the price pumps. During a bull market, of course, we want to do the exact opposite, right? We want to buy the dip. That's a common strategy, but I think shorting the pumps is actually the easier strategy. Again, because especially the large caps, they have to reverse at one point. But then there are also other interesting short opportunities. For example, this here. This is the balancer token relative to Bitcoin. And this tends to trend downwards pretty consistently with not that much volatility. Now, where does this come from? Again, we can make money just by betting on falling prices here, right? If this continues to go down, we can make money. It's not necessarily about the US dollar valuation of a cryptocurrency. We can just bet on the relative valuation to Bitcoin as well. Now, here is where the underperformance is coming from. It's token inflation. So if there's more and more tokens floating around that get constantly issued to the users of the platform, or in this case, liquidity mining, then over time, that BAL, that token gets sold. And that then creates this chart, and that's then a profit opportunity for us. What happened with Mantra is a bit different, because for Mantra, we didn't yet see officially the token inflating. We saw instead shady background deals with over-the-counter traders and with market makers that then simply front ran what other insiders wanted to sell with this token inflation afterwards. Now, usually I don't share my trades on this channel officially in YouTube, right? I only share this with the premium members. However, I want to share a potential trade that I might do in case something specific happens. There is a lot of talk right now around potentially shorting the Trump meme coin. And that's because of this unlock over here. We are going to see a vast number of Trump tokens unlocking in 1 day and 14 hours. And again, the idea would be that this increased supply would depress the price. And especially for a large cap like the Trump token, this should become true long term. But here's the thing. Long term. Because if there are enough people that anticipate this unlock and that currently bet on falling prices of Trump, then again, the market makers will see this and they will pump up the price until all of those shorts are liquidated. And then afterwards, Trump will go down. And so here is my potential trade that I might open. I am not shorting Trump right now. I'm looking at the Trump token relative to Solana. And if we see a rally, if we see a short squeeze, maybe of Trump outperforming by around 30% or so relative to Solana. So if we get to the price levels to March of this year, then I might enter a short position. Again, if we rally very, very quickly, not if we just slowly go up, right? We want to see a real short squeeze. And so feel free to simply watch the Trump token in the next 1, 2, 3 days. Let's see what's happening. If I enter the position, I will post this, of course, in premium, but you can see this already in the chart anyways over here. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I'm betting on falling prices since Bitcoin hit roughly 100K. And so the community does this as well, sometimes with leverage, but mainly on altcoins. Again, because most altcoins underperform Bitcoin most of the time because the tokenomics are bad, or maybe because there was a short squeeze. There are tons of opportunities in markets like this. I actually believe that it's easier to make money in a bear market than in a bull market. In a bull market, we have to find the few outperformers. In a bear market, we can spread ourselves quite broadly. But it's not just about crypto, right? I'm also thinking about other asset classes. So for example, example, there was an announcement over here on the 4th of October how I've bought the gold ETF. Now why? That's because of the gold price relative to the stock market capitalization. And so since then, gold went up by 26%. It's again at an all-time high. And so what most people overlook when it comes to long-term wealth building is to not just generate alpha in a single asset class to be very good in crypto, but to actually also still have nice exposure to cheap other asset classes that help us protect, and it also helps us to reduce volatility over time. We want to own gold when it's cheap. We want to own stocks when it's cheap. We want to get into property when it's cheap. It's always about rebalancing the portfolio in the right manner. Now here again, back to the crypto portfolio. This is my personal monthly alpha over buying and holding Bitcoin. So each data point here is a description of how I performed versus just buying and holding BTC. That should be the reference point. And then the dotted line shows a 12-month average. Now, if we average out all of those data points, that's currently at 2.3%. So I'm currently outperforming Bitcoin by 2.3% every single month. And then when you combine this together with dollar cost averaging, you're growing wealth very nicely in a consistent way. Now, if you've got a lot of time, but not yet that much capital, it makes sense to trade crypto very actively and to short altcoins. If you have a lot of capital, but not that much time anymore, it's more important to have the right asset balance. Especially for the latter group, it's very important to have this properly set up. So if you want to have a one-on-one call with me directly, where you go through your portfolio and where we then discuss how to optimize things, then feel free to sign up for premium. The one-on-one call is included for free in the annual subscription. So here's premium monthly. It's $125 per month. It's less than during the bull market. And here is yearly. It's less for every single month because 2 months are saved, or $250. But of course, it's billed yearly. But the main kicker is likely my individual support. Right? We can schedule a Zoom call together. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. Helps the channel grow. See you next time here on YouTube, or see you in premium. Cheers.